something we will be learning.
Rupert Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Despite multiple promises of inquiries from political parties across this House, it seems that the only operational investigation will be the rape gang inquiry, which I have privately launched. It's garnered cross-party support, and I implore MPs from any political persuasion to align with our cause. Will the Minister today commit to engaging in a cooperative manner with the investigation and make herself available to answer questions from our expert panel?
What I would say to the honourable gentleman is that I delight in his interest in this, and what I would say to every single member in this House is that I will work with absolutely anybody to make this better, I'm more than happy to meet with him and talk about any level of cooperation, because if people are genuinely here to try and stop the grooming gangs in this country, I am genuinely here to help.
Adam Thompson.
Deputy Speaker, the Minister has kindly confirmed today that the Casey review will be published in May. Can I first welcome that? But could I ask, could she elaborate on whether she expects the review, given that it's going to explain the next stages of the process, while it obviously cannot include, while she obviously cannot preface the review, can she explain whether she expects it to include a framework for conducting the local inquiries?
I thank my honourable friend. No, I absolutely don't expect it to do that. What Baroness Casey is seeking to do is an audit on the problem profiles around the country and looking at exactly where the data does exist, doesn't exist, where there are failings, and it was intended to be a rapid audit. The framework for good local inquiries is being worked on by a series of experts, including Tom Crowther and people like Alexis Jay, and the fund that local authorities can apply to will also be published by the end of May.
Richard Holden.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm sure that the Minister shares my concerns that to date no one has been convicted of covering up the horrendous crimes, including sexual abuse and gang rape. What is the plan to ensure that people are held to account? Because it's quite clear, as the Minister said in her early remarks, that these cover-ups have perpetuated these crimes, not just historically, but actually through, potentially through crimes which are continuing to happen to this very day.
I totally agree with the honourable gentleman. I wish to see people who covered this up. I wish to see them held accountable within the law and the frameworks that exist. And actually, if people have concerns about things and would like to bring them forward to me on specific cases, then the police have the power currently to investigate those things, obviously within the law as it exists. Had mandatory reporting laws existed sooner, we might have been in a better situation. But I completely agree. It's appalling that no one's been held to account.
John Woodcock.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I thank my honourable friend for the continuing hard work that she puts into this issue, and particularly welcome the commitment to introduce mandatory reporting for suspected sexual abuse, something that was recommended 11 years ago by the current Prime Minister as outgoing Director of Public Prosecutions, accepted by the then Prime Minister David Cameron. But we then had to go through 4 more Tory Prime Ministers and 7 more Tory Home Secretaries before it started to be implemented by this Labour government. Can I assure her that she has my full support on this matter, and just to continue and carry on the good work?
Thank you.
Ayub Khan.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Child sexual exploitation is a vile and despicable crime that cuts across all sections of our society, perpetrated by individuals with blackened souls. They come from all races, all creeds, religions, backgrounds. All law-abiding citizens want justice for the victims of these horrific acts. Will the Minister agree that our focus must be on supporting the victims of exploitation and on stopping the perpetrators, but that it must be done in such a way that does not fan the flames of hate to innocent groups of people who would, like all law-abiding citizens, condemn these acts?
I mean, of course I agree, and I want to see perpetrators held accountable. What I can say without any doubt, though, that in the past there have been people who have, as other local inquiries have told us, that people have covered up for seemingly, whether asked to or not, multicultural reasons, and that cannot stand. That said, we will always follow the facts and make sure that we are dealing completely and utterly with that.
Gregor Poynton.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I strongly welcome the Home Secretary commissioning of Baroness Casey to conduct the national audit. And further to my honourable friend from Milton Keynes Central's question, can the Minister confirm if the growing prevalence of online group-based sexual exploitation of children will form the basis of form part of that report? And can she also provide any update on what the Home Office's response to this growing crime?
I thank the honourable gentleman and say that absolutely group-based grooming with some terrible instances of children globally being groomed or British children being groomed from abroad or vice versa is something that we are acutely aware of. Whether it will form part of what Baroness Casey finds, I shall leave to Baroness Casey to say. However, what I will say is that it absolutely forms part of the strategy of work for preventing child sexual abuse that the government have laid out.
Charlie Dewhurst.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm concerned that some of the people involved in these local authority inquiries could be the very same individuals who have covered up these heinous crimes for years. So why is the Minister so unwilling to seek justice for the victims of these child rape gangs through a national statutory inquiry?
I want to be clear that local inquiries have to be independent. So the independent chair of the Telford inquiry, or Professor Alexis Jay was the chair of the Rotherham inquiry. They are independent inquiries, and they are not run by local authorities.
Laura Kirksmith.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last week I caught up with Safe Step, a remarkable charity in my constituency of Aylesbury which supports victims and survivors of child sexual exploitation and abuse. We discussed the many ways in which the trauma remains with these victims and survivors and how important accountability is for them as they rebuild their lives. Madam Deputy Speaker, my constituents who have suffered this appalling abuse need closure and they need change, and I pay tribute to the Minister for her vital and persistent work to this end, including the work to establish the 5 local inquiries. Can she set out some further examples of what areas like mine can do to ensure that the vile perpetrators are brought to justice?
I thank my honourable friend. What I would say is that the Grooming Gangs Task Force that will work with local police force areas, the whole point of it is that it will go into work operationally with local police forces to ensure best practice. That has then led to this increase of nearly, since it was set up, 1,100 arrests in group-based child sex abuse. And so there is a huge amount of resource in that centre, and I would encourage local areas and local police forces always to be working with them.
Jim Allister.
Madam Deputy Speaker, surely there is something fundamentally flawed with the process of local inquiries if the option of holding the inquiry rests with the defaulting authorities. And isn't there equally something out of kilter with the government's approach to public inquiries, when at this moment it's about to spend up to tens of millions of pounds on a public inquiry to meet the political demands of the Finucane family, but denies a national inquiry to this national scandal of child rape gangs?
I thank the honourable gentleman. I won't answer the point that I think strays slightly from this particular urgent question, but what I will say is I wonder if he has read the 200-page document of the National Inquiry into Group-Based Child Sexual Abuse that already exists and had statutory powers. And if not, or I say to anyone in the House, I would really, really encourage people to do that.
Katrina Murray.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for the responses to the questions. As has often been said in this chamber, child sexual abuse happens across all sectors of society, to girls and to boys, and there is no hierarchy in victims. As the Minister has already said, that every single one of those young people comes into contact with professionals on a daily basis.